Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Sophie. I have a doctorate in literature, which means I get way too emotionally invested in the shows that we're watching. Today, we're reacting to episode 11 of Monster. Last episode was interesting. Johan has left a little message for Temma. Temma is hot on his heels. Temma also had a unique interaction with a terrorist that had been shot and needed medical attention, and Temba eventually gave it to him once he admitted that he didn't want to die and kind of accepted that the fear he felt regarding death was exactly how those that suffered violence at his hands also felt, and accepted responsibility for the fact that not everyone who died in the attack were part of the organization that he was aiming for. You know, he ended up killing an innocent child. So Temma did hold him accountable for it, but he still didn't let him die. And this is what I mean. Even though he knows that people have done horrible things, if there is a sense of atonement to some degree, a sense of regret, he can find it in himself to treat them. I still don't think, even if there isn't, he would have let him die, but I don't know. It's hard to kind of gauge. I think Temma's incredibly complicated, but at the heart of it all, he is still a doctor. He does care about saving lives, even those that he feels don't deserve to be saved. I think he may have acted like he wouldn't have actually helped the guy, but I think even if he hadn't shown an ounce of fear or remorse, Temma might still have intervened, maybe a little later, which might not have made any difference, but he still wouldn't have just let him bleed out, I don't think. Either way, I'm excited to see where Temma goes to next, because Temma is constantly on the move because the police are after him, but also he's trying to track down Johan. Anna also is out looking for Johan, so I wonder if their paths are going to cross again at some point. This has been a very intriguing series, and we're only 11 episodes in, so there's still way more to go. Without further ado, we're going to jump into episode 11.
何しろここはベルリンの中心から車で20分。交通の便もよく環境もいいですからね。
Okay, so he's near Berlin.
これだけの出物はなかなかございません。
Oh.
ここは旧東ドイツで
Oh.
貿易局顧問だったリーベルト氏の元の住まいだと思うんですが。
Okay.
は？
This is why he's here. He wants to know more about the Lieberts.
なんだ客じゃないのかよ。
To maybe try and find why Johan did what he did, but also to kind of get more information on Johan.
リーベルト夫妻はこちらにいるとき、双子の兄弟を引き取ったはずなんです。
I think he knows more than he's saying.
このうちの地主さんは紹介してもらえませんか？
旧東ドイツの土地はほとんどナチ時代に逃げ出したユダヤ人資産家のものなんだ。ここの地主も外国にいるの。それに我が社は壁の崩壊後に進出した西側の不動産会社ですからね。古い話は何にも知らないの。
Or maybe he doesn't, but I don't know. It was just the way he said, I don't know about anyone that defected. Kind of seems like he's concealing something.
10件ほど先に旧東ドイツ商務省の元役人が住んでるな。
Okay, so maybe some answers there?
リーベルトさんね。危ない橋渡って亡命なんかしなくても、もう少しまでは東ドイツは自滅したのにね。
So what made him desperate enough to flee when he did?
リーベルトさんには双子の兄弟の子供がいませんでしたか？
双子の兄弟？
He's gonna say no, isn't he?
思い出した。
Oh wait, no, okay, so they did
リー
have
ベル
the
トさんが
twins.
孤児院から引き取ったあの双子。
So they weren't the parents! I fucking said this! So who are the biological parents? Where did they come from?
511キンダーハイム。
I knew it! I knew it! There was just little indications in the dialogue that they weren't their biological parents. So then, who are the biological parents, and are the biological parents still alive? Is this because Johan resents the biological parents for giving them up? That he's now exerting that rage and anger on anyone that sort of resembles his biological parents in terms of age and status? I don't know. Why target rich middle-aged couples? Was it because his biological parents were poor? That he feels like if they were rich, he wouldn't have been given up for adoption, or who truly knows at this point, but it's definitely to do with the biological parents, why he's going on to do what he's doing. There's some lingering resentment and anger there.
もうすぐこの孤児院の跡地もスーパーマーケットになるらしいよ。やっと気味悪い建物が取り壊されて清々するよ。
Disturbing building.
ち
Why
ょっと
was it disturbing? What
この
happened?
孤児院の関係者の方は知りませんか？
Like abuse, psychological experiments? Like what? What
この
happened?
ことは話したくないね。はあ、気味悪い。
Is it going to be like psychological experimentation on children, or like
47番地に元厚生省のハルトマンって男がいるよ。
what happened here? I'm on the edge of my seat now. Like, what happened in this building? Why is it disturbing? To me, that means like abuse, perhaps trafficking, but also maybe like psychological experiments.
この辺にハルトマンさんって人住んでないかな？
Oh, okay.
大丈夫だよ。怖くないんだから。見せてごらん。治りかけた傷の上からまた怪我をしたな。可能しかけてる。
What did he do?
ちょっとしみるが、これで良くなる。よし。
I love Temba. He's like, you're injured. Let me help. Such a good guy. His whole life has been
また怪我するぞ。
messed up because of Johan.
その子たちは皆東ドイツ崩壊後、私が里親として引き取っていたんです。
Okay, I was gonna say it's a bit strange,
養子縁組や身の振り方が決まるまで、
but that makes more sense that he basically raised
真ん中
them.
の子は服飾メーカーの社長の養子として迎えられました。左端の子は今軍隊に入ってます。
I thought it was like a weird obsession with young boys, but maybe it's just a proud foster parent, I guess.
長年厚生省の地区担当官として孤児関係の仕事をしてまして、当時から政府のやり方には反対でしたからね。
So what happened in the
社会
orphanage?
主義が崩壊してから私なりのやり方で子供たちの力になれないものかと。
In your own way. What was your own way?
511キンダーハイムは厚生省と内務省との共同管轄の特別孤児院でした。まあ旧東ドイツの孤児院は多かれ少なかれあんなもんでしたが、その中でも特別孤児院はひどかった。刑事犯の子供と亡命して捕らえられた政治犯の子供、親が内乱罪やスパイ罪に問われた子供たちの集まりだったんです。子供たちは何をされても仕方ない立場だった。政府はスローガンでは孤児たちを社会主義の模範になるよう再教育すると言いながら、
Okay.
実際には犯罪者扱い。おまけに院長や教官は最悪。
So it was more like a re-education camp than an orphanage.
あそこではとてもまともな人間は育たない。
And yet, look at how Anna became. Anna is nothing like Johan.
事件？その孤児院で何が起きたんです？
Did somebody die? Did the director get killed? Did Johan kill the director?
妹の方は別の地区の孤児院に預けられましたからよくは知りません。しかし兄のヨハンのことはよく知っています。
Oh, his hands are shaking. What do you know about Johan?
あれは最高機密でした。東ドイツ政府は徹底した箝口令を敷いたんです。
Why?
事件について話しても構わんと思うが。
何ですか事件って？
Something bad?
ヨハンが何をしたんです？
革命ですよ。
Sorry. He led a revolution.
ただいま。
ディーター、お客様だ。
Oh, it's the same little boy.
いや、もうさっき家の前で会ってるんです。
I was expecting it to be more like he murdered a bunch of people, but he just revolted.
もうこんな時間ですので、また改めて。
ディーター、ご一緒に食事でもいかがですか？
はあ。
I'm hoping this guy's a good guy and he's not like secretly abusive. I don't think he is, but I just worry. The little boy was really cagey talking about him and then he was clinging to Temba.
我々が子供を正しい方向へ導かなければならない。そうして初めて子供は素晴らしい夢を見ることができる。
ディータはどんな夢を持ってる？
サッカーボール。
え？
サッカーボールが欲しい。
そうか。
話が話だけに中断してしまって。
また伺います。明日にでも連絡します。
Why do I feel like he's putting on an act? Like the mask is gonna slip now that Tenma's go- Oh fuck, it is, isn't it? I knew I was getting weird vibes from him. He hurt Dita. That's why Dita has the injury and it reopened again. I knew it. I knew there was something off. I was like, I don't want to think this guy's a bad guy, but something's not right. And I couldn't put my finger on it. It was like a gut feeling something's off.
すみません。ちょっといいですか？
He's got him the soccer ball. I hope it's not going to be a similar scenario with the cuckoo clock.
ハルトマンさん、ハルトマンさん。
Kick the door in, Tenma. Just fucking kick the door in.
天馬さん。
ディータ、どうしたんですか？
落ちたんです。
No, he didn't fall. You
椅子
did
の
it to
上に乗っ
him.
ていて。ああ、ディータ。
ハルトマンさん、救急車を。
ああ。
He's abusing the poor boy.
ディータ、見せてごらん。
Oh, he's going to be covered in bruises.
なんなんだ、このたくさんの傷跡は。ここが痛むのかい？
Is it going to be, yeah, I was going to say a broken rib.
左肩を脱臼している。
He's beaten this boy black and blue
どうやってこんな怪我を？
because he didn't fall off the chair.
しかしこの傷は一体。
大丈夫と言ったでしょう。だからもうお引き取り
No,
を。
Tenma, don't go. Do not leave this little boy in his car.
その傷の触り方、まるで医者みたいですね。
He is a doctor.
天、どこかで聞いたことがある
Oh
なと思っ
shit.
た。あの人殺しで手配中の。
この傷は、この体中の傷は一体どうしたんですか？
逃げた方がいいんじゃないですか。救急車と一緒に警察も呼びましたよ。
ハルトマ
What?
ンさん、ディータのこの傷はどうしてついたのかと聞いているんです。
So he already knew.
さすが逃亡犯だ。気が短いようですね。
あなたがやったんですね。
Yes.
やった。何？
あなたはこのディータに虐待を加えている。
It's
人
abuse.
聞きの悪いことを言わないでほしいな。
He's going to
なあ
say
ディ
it's
ータ、
teaching him to be a better adult
どうするつもりだ？
この子を
because
病
he
院に連
says
れてき
it's
ます。
their job to shape them into the people they'll become as children.
動くな。
So he sees it as teaching him a lesson, but Dita didn't do anything other than when he came in, he said, mind your manners.
病院怖い。
怖くなんかないさ。お医者さんがちゃんと治してくれるさ。
痛いの。いつもハルトマンさんが治してくれる。
Yeah, because if he took him to the hospital, they'd know. Oh, wait, is this saying that he works at the
体
hospital?
中怪我してるのに病院に行ったこと
Oh,
が
wait,
な
no,
いの
he
か。
treats them from home.
怖い。今の世の中は悪いことでいっぱいなんだ。
Because if
だから
anyone
僕は
knew,
強くならなくちゃい
they
けな
wouldn't
いんだ
let the kid go back.
強く。世界は真っ暗だ。明日は真っ黒だ。
This is no way to treat a child.
そんなことはない。世界が真っ暗だなんて大嘘だ。
The world can also be a beautiful place.
ほら、サッカーボール。
Oh, Tenma, you're such a good guy.
明日はきっといい日だ。すみません、こんな時間に無理言って。
あ、いえ、でもね、今、休館で立て込んでて、治療までかなり時間がかかりますよ。
しかし、そこをなんとか。
でも、とても大きな事故があって。
バスの運転手はそっちだったんです。
まず治療が先です。取り調べは後にしてください。
じゃあとりあえずここで待たせてもらいますよ。
2時間ほどで戻ります。
Oh, what if he comes back and Dita's not there though, because he has
そ
to
れから
leave him?
私以外の人間があの子を迎えに来ても絶対に引き渡さないでください。お願いします。まずはディータの身の振り方だが、警察へ行かせるにしても私はついていけないし。
Tenma, you really get yourself wrapped up in so many situations,
別
don't
の
you?
個人に預けられましたから、よくは知りません。
Is that why they turned out differently? because maybe the orphanage wasn't the same way that Johan's was. I didn't catch that initially, that they were in different orphanages.
無理なお願いなのはよくわかってます。でもその子は。
その子が幼児虐待を受けているのは分かったよ。でもあんたが誰だか分からなきゃ。
もしかしてこちらはアンナ・リーベルトがお世話になっていた孤児院では。
あんた、アンナ・リーベルトを知ってるの？
やはりアンナはここにいたんですね。
ああ、懐かしいね。アンナは今どうしてる？
Oh, you see what I mean? She seems really harsh, but she actually genuinely cares about children.
貿易局のリーベルトさんに引き取られるまでは知っているんだけど、双子の男の子と一緒にね。
So why would the children split up? Why did they go to different orphanages?
あの子たちここに来る前は本当に二人っき
So
りだった
why
んだ
did
から
they
ね。
separate them?
チェコスロバキアの国境線あたりで保護された時も手をつないで歩いてたそうよ。二人寒さで震えながら。リーベルト氏が引き取る話も最初はヨハン一人ってことだったんだけど、
But he wouldn't go
妹も
without
一緒じゃな
Anna.
きゃ嫌だって。おかげでアンナは幸せになったんだね。
当時の東側の
not
孤児
really.
院はひどい状況だったと聞いていますが。
511キンダーハイムと一緒にしないでほしいね。インゲ、トイレはそっちじゃないでしょ。
Oh.
大丈夫、大丈夫。怖いことなんて何にもないよ。
Oh. He knows that this is a good place for Dita. She genuinely cares about the kids here. Unlike that guy that seemed like he cared about the children, but he
人
genuinely
間として成
doesn't.
長していくには愛情しかないのよ。でも私たちはそれでも何とかしようと必死にやってきた。少しでも政府の言いなりにならないように、511キンダーハイムのようにならないようにね。あそこは厚生省と内務省共同管轄の特別孤児院だったけど、その意味がわかる。
Were they social
内
experiments?
情はね、内務省によって管理されてたのよ。だってあそこは旧東ドイツの実験場だったんだから。
I did wonder if it was an experimental facility. I did wonder that, did I not? I did posit that potentially that was what happened. I didn't initially catch that they were in two different orphanages, but it goes to show how a child is raised determines the outcome. So very much nurture, because before this, Johan may not have actually harmed anyone, but in being in that environment, he's been socialized in such a way to accept violence as a normal behavior, to expect abuse. And we don't know what these experiments are. Like, could these experiments be to do with targeting D factors? Because obviously he then went on to target the Lieberts who took them in. And the Lieberts defected from East Germany. So we don't actually know what the government was experimenting on them for, but I imagine it was physical and also mental experimentation. But we're seeing it firsthand that it is nurture rather than nature, that Johan wasn't born to be evil. He was made that way because of the environment that he was raised in. The social environment was one that was unbecoming of a young child, versus Anna, who grew up in an environment where she was nurtured and loved and cared for, shown the love that a parent should show to her by the people that ran the institution. They knew that it couldn't replace an actual parent's love, but they did what they could. And she grew up to have a more healthy perspective on the world. Of course, she has trauma because of Johan, but she doesn't want to harm people. She wants to go on and be a lawyer to help people in need, whereas Johan is directly targeting wealthy middle-aged couples. And we also got a little bit more insight that they were born on the border of Czechoslovakia and they were found hand in hand cold. So they've walked across the border. Did they set out with parents and their parents didn't make it? Did their parents send them? Did they run away? What is the purpose? What is the reasoning behind that? Again, so many questions, not enough answers. But I knew there was something odd about the guy. I don't know what it was. I saw the pictures on the wall and I was a bit like, that's a bit weird. And then he was like, oh, I'm a foster parent. I was like, okay, that's less weird. But then it was the way that like Dieter wouldn't talk about Hartman. Like you would think you would just say, yes, that's my foster parent or my dad or whatever. But he didn't answer the question. He was also leaving and then came back. It was an old injury that's reopened. He clung to Temma so Temma couldn't leave. So then he had to ask Temma to stay for dinner. And I think Dieter did that to prolong Temma's stay so that he wouldn't get abused, because the longer Temman's there, the more time Dieter has without being forced to suffer and be in pain, because he's not going to abuse Dieter in front of Temma. He's not going to do that. So Dieter was trying to protect himself, and he saw Temma as a way to do that. He knew that Temma was kind and caring, and if Temma stayed, he wouldn't have to suffer at the hands of this heinous individual. And then he was talking about how all these kids have ended up in like prominent homes, as if that was his goal, to make more connections. He talks about how like we have to be the ones to shape the children, that the growth of the child depends on the adult raising them. And he seems to think that the world is a dark and scary place, and that by hurting Dieter, he's preparing them for the world, that he'll be strong enough and resilient enough to face whatever comes his way, because nothing will be as bad as what he's doing to him. But that's not doing anything but scaring Dieter even further, to the point that he doesn't want to go to the hospital. He doesn't want to go into the outside world because he's terrified of what awaits him. Because if this abuse hurts, then what else does the world have in store for him? It's like he's trying to break him so that he can mold him to be the man that he wants him to be, by getting rid of any sense of individuality or personality. The fact that Temma asks him what his dream is, and he doesn't even know what Dieter's dream is. And he says, like, we have to lead them down the right path so the children can realize their wonderful dreams for the first time. But it sounds like he would never let Dieter actually have that dream, because the fact that he wants something so simple as a soccer ball, why was he never given that? Because he doesn't actually care about making the boy happy. He just wants to mold him into the person that he thinks Dieter should be, not who Dieter actually wants to be. Those poor boys probably experience the exact same thing that Dieter's going through. And the fact that Temma didn't even say his name, but the minute he sees Temma and the way that he's going over his wounds, he presumes that this is Dr. Temma that's on the run, and phones the police. I don't know if he actually phoned the police or if it's just a threat to get Temma to leave Dieter behind, and so that Temma won't actually take him to the hospital. I don't know if it was a bluff or if it was actually true, but I'm glad that Temma didn't leave Dieter behind, because how could you? How could you leave that little boy? But at first I thought maybe the two orphanages were both social experiments to see how children under different environments grow and thrive. But then we have this orphanage that refused to be controlled and dictated to by the government, whereas the other orphanage didn't say no. They let the government do whatever they wanted at the detriment of the children in that environment. Talks about how the children in those orphanages were either parents of those perceived as criminals, because defecting is not a criminal act, but it's treated as a criminal act. And we don't know much about Johan. So, well, how did Johan get placed there and Anna didn't? Was Johan specifically selected by somebody to be in that orphanage because they saw him as an interesting test subject, whereas Anna wasn't really of any use to them? Or was this part of the test in itself, that they separated two twins, placed them in different environments to see how both of them grow up, to see how different environments impact the twin connection, the twin bond, how it shapes them into being different people? I'm not entirely sure, but what is evident is that Johan does care for his sister so very deeply. And I think we always knew that. The fact that he didn't tell anyone that Anna was actually the one to shoot him, but also he could have just got adopted by the Lieberts, but he insisted that Anna came with because the idea of leaving her behind was unfathomable. But it just breaks my heart that they only had each other and they were separated from one another, that they never got to be together. And again, it raises so many questions as to who Johan would have been if Johan had had a better home environment. Because if this is what this man is doing to Dieter, and he also worked in that orphanage, what's obvious is that the abuse and trauma that Johan suffered was likely 10 times worse. And I'm not saying what Dieter has gone through isn't horrendous. It absolutely is. But if this is one man, what's a whole institution doing to these children? I don't even want to begin to imagine, but I'm sure we're about to find out, and it's going to be heart-wrenching. But it adds some further perspective as to why Johan is the way that he is. I am really looking forward to learning more about this. So I hope Dieter doesn't get taken away. I know that Temma said, if anyone comes for the boy, don't let him go. But my concern is that because technically this is his foster parent, they have more rights to Dieter than Temma does, and the hospital kind of can't prevent him from just taking Dieter away, even though Dieter's really injured, unless Dieter kicks up a fuss and then they can kind of intervene. But I'm just really scared that Temma leaves and comes back and Dieter's not there and he has to try and track him down. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!